Three, two, one.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
Three,
وبركاته.
two, one.
All praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him and we ask Him for help and guidance. He who is guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be taken astray by anyone. And he who is allowed by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be misguided cannot and will not be brought back to guidance by anyone on the face of this earth. I bear witness that there is no deity to be worshipped but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his last messenger, sent as a true guidance to humankind, so that we could follow his example at all times, all places, and under all circumstances. So, my dear brothers and sisters in Edmonton and wherever you are watching or listening, I really miss you all because it has become a tradition for me that every Ramadan and even outside of Ramadan, I would visit Edmonton and I would interact with my brothers and sisters, with my friends, with my extended family. But this year has been different, and so far, I'm only seeing the positive vibes of this difference. You know, everything happens by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a fact that no one can really argue or deny. And this year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the entire globe come to a halt. And this has been an experience that no one has ever experienced before, that the entire humanity is experiencing the same test, the same trials, same tribulations. Now, some people are really panicking, some people are passing some conspiracy theories, and they are saying this, whatever, whether it is human-made virus or whether it is natural, you know, still it is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the way I look at it is the same as the story of the young people whose story is told in Surah Al-Kahf, who really retreated to the cave and they stayed there for more than 300 years. Now, I'm not stipulating that we are going to stay, you know, inside our homes for, you know, a lengthy period of time, but listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Kahf, فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ, that Allah wants you to retreat to the cave, and then He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will spread a blanket of mercy over you. And I can see this blanket of mercy coming upon us, so that this year, with Ramadan being observed at home, all the cultural, social frills that usually come with it. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the social interaction during our lively iftar dinners, during our meetings at the masajid, the Taraweeh prayers. It's beautiful and we really love it. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will grant us that again, inshallah, if not this year, then next year. But I'm saying that it is still good to really separate that which is cultural and practice that which is purely faith-based. And this is what is happening to us. You know, we are really rediscovering our families, husband and wife, seeing each other more often. And the thing that really disturbs me is that some sociologists, psychologists have been giving their advice how to avoid problems by this constant interaction, as if to say that it is bad. You know, I do not see it that way. I really think that it's about time for the family to come together and practice Ramadan together, wake up for suhoor together, the entire family, and then because there is no job to run to the next day. Most people, even those who are working from home, are able now to do that which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. We are able to study the Quran. If in the past we just read it for barakah, which it is not, it is barakah in the sense that it leaves its impact on our lives. But the Quran is more than just reciting in vacuum. The Quran is to be understood. The Quran is to be studied. And now we have the time for that. We have the time to sit with our children and tell them stories from the Quran. Let them ask their questions. Let us, as I've seen, mashallah, many families established musalla at home, a little masjid at home. And, here in London, Ontario, I started a kind of a campaign to see what families have been doing during Ramadan. And I received, as I asked them to do, video clips of the decorations they made in that masjid at home and how they are praying as a family. So alhamdulillah, it's really, really great. But let us not forget, it's already the 16th of Ramadan, meaning that time is running, that we are seeing the verbs that are mentioned in 2 surahs of the Quran in action. And you're saying, which surahs are you referring to? What verbs are you mentioning? I am really referring to Surah Al Imran and Surah Al Hadid. In Surah Al Imran, there's an ayah that says, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. Yes, it said للمتقين. And when we read in Surah Al-Baqarah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أعدت للمتقين. So the connection is there. Let me translate so that everybody who doesn't know Arabic will understand the connection between these 2 ayat. In Surah Al Imran, it says, hurry up, there's no time to lose, so that you may attain forgiveness from your Lord, and as such qualify to enter a Jannah whose dimensions are the heavens and the earth, being prepared for the people of taqwa, for the people of righteousness. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah told us that Ramadan is all about developing that taqwa, developing righteousness. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, O people of faith, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for people before you, so that you may develop righteousness. So this is what we do in Ramadan. We do it as well when we go for Hajj. We do it when we really train well in these 2 great acts of worship, so that the rest of our lives will be based on righteousness, on this quality that people pondered, what is taqwa? A scholar gave a definition of taqwa that is so beautiful. He said, التقوى أن تعمل بطاعة الله بنور من الله ترجو ثواب الله وأن تترك معصية الله على نور من الله تخاف عقاب الله. How beautiful. He said that taqwa is to act as per the obedience of Allah, that everything you do is in the obedience of Allah, moving with the light of Allah, seeking the rewards of Allah, and to avoid disobeying Allah, again, by seeing the light of Allah and fearing the punishment of Allah. It's exactly as one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when asked to define taqwa, he said, imagine if you are walking barefoot in a field filled with pricky thorns. How would you proceed, and he explained that you will be trying to be very careful to avoid being pricked by those thorns. Taqwa is exactly that, to avoid falling into acts of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and only move in the area which is clear, which is safe for you. So we have no time to lose. Time is running. And in Surah Al-Hadid, it even gets more than sari'u. Sari'u means move quickly. In Surah Al-Hadid, it says wasabiqu, meaning enter into a race. And you know, when people enter into a race, they run at the top of their speed. So in Surah Al-Hadid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَسَابِقُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا كَعَرْضِ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ أُعِدَّتْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بالله ورسله ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم, which means exactly the same thing, but here it says that is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you are guided to do that, when you know the opportunities of Ramadan, that you really want to collect as much as you can during this month, do as much as you can. And here I'd like to give you an example from the spirit of the experience all of us are going through. Imagine, and by now, before we imagine, by now, most adults who were given in every household the task of shopping for the family, as it is recommended that one adult goes and does that, and be very careful and observe all the health-related precautions under these circumstances. So all adults who did that experienced standing in line with 2 meters apart outside the food supermarket, and then someone is telling you, now it's your turn, now you can go, and then you go, and there are arrows that tell you you have to move in the direction of the arrows. You cannot backtrack. You have to do everything because others are behind you. So we are familiar with this. Now imagine a fictitious scenario whereby at a food supermarket they changed the rules, but now they say you only have 5 minutes to get everything you need, and then you're out. How would you move? You will be moving at the top of your speed, collecting, and before you come to the supermarket, you would have already made a list so that you don't waste any time. Time is of the essence. So you go and you get the vegetables, then you get the cans, then you get the bread, then you get the milk, then you get the eggs, and then you go and you pay, and then you leave. Ramadan is exactly like that. We are moving between the aisles in Ramadan. The aisles are the days of Ramadan. And we really we have a very short period of time to get as much as we can and then leave. This is Ramadan. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala notice, in Surah Al-Baqarah, when he said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described this entire month, 30 days, but he said a few days, because indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who gave us the gift of Ramadan, knew that it would feel with us that it is a few days, that it is passing so quickly. Again, I just said that it's the 16th day of Ramadan, and in no time we would be entering the last 10 days and nights of Ramadan, wherein Prophet Muhammad ﷺ advised us. So now in the last 1/3 of Ramadan, you don't have time for your energy to wane and drop. You really have to keep on going up and up and up, seeking the climax being the night of power, or the night of determination, or the night of highest status called Laylatul Qadr. We have no time. And you know, there is a hadith which is rated as by the technicalities of ilm al-hadith, or the science of hadith, it is rated as da'if. It's a weak hadith. But as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, that if you come across something that is called a hadith, and it is weak, it is, not as authentic as other sayings relate to Prophet Muhammad, if it does not go against a statement in the Quran or in my other authentic Sunnah, if it doesn't do that, then you may quote it. So this hadith runs like this, and many people heard it so many times every Ramadan. It says that Ramadan, the first 1/3 is a manifestation of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rahmah. The half, or the second 1/3, which we are living right now, is maghfirah. It is a time to attain and try to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can for his forgiveness. And the last 1/3 is atqun min an-nar. You will be given a statement, albeit a divine reward, not a written statement, obviously, but you are being freed from punishment in the hellfire. So right now, we are going through a time when we have to do lots of istighfar, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings, to forgive our mistakes, to forgive those actions that we did either intentionally or unintentionally, and they were not in line with the wishes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We did so many things, and as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, it's our nature. Kullu bni Adam khata. Every human being is made of a nature that makes mistakes. No one can claim that he or she does not make mistakes. We all do, but we really need to reconcile every now and then. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us 5 opportunities every day to reconcile. He gave us 1 opportunity every week to reconcile. He gave us an entire month every year to reconcile. He gave us an opportunity once in our lifetime to reconcile, so that when we will be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, we would have had so many chances. But if someone refuses to take these chances seriously, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would tell us that I gave you all the chances that you need because I love you, because you are so dear to me. But if we want to discover what love is all about, we have to have it as a two-way street. We have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many people claim that they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but indeed they go against, go in the opposite. How could we go in the opposite direction to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we claim that we love him? There is a piece of poetry that says, about this subject matter: تعصي الإله وأنت تظهر حبه ذاك لعمري في الفعال شنيع. If you really love Allah and you disobey him, that is indeed, the worst of actions. You cannot do that. You have, as in Surah Al Imran, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. If you claim that you love Allah, follow my sunnah, the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Allah would love you in return. This is a triangle of love. Our deen is made of love. Allah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Habibullah, the beloved of Allah, and then us on the other vertex of the triangle. So if we love Allah, we follow the beloved of Allah, and Allah would love us back, and we love Allah. So it's all about love. قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ. قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ الله والرسول فإن تولوا فإن الله لا يحب الكافرين. That you should follow Allah and His Messenger, but if you turn yourself away from Allah, Allah doesn't like those who deny faith. So this is the nature of the month of Ramadan. And because we are talking about time, there is a short surah. Actually, it's one of the three shortest surahs of the Quran, which are Surah Al-Asr, Surah Al-Nasr, and Surah Al-Kawthar. In Surah Al-Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes an oath by absolute time, Al-Asr. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout the Quran, made an oath 14 times. And He doesn't need to make an oath to tell us something after the oath. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to stress the importance of what will follow that qasam, that oath, He made it in 14 places. And here, we read after A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the All-Merciful, the Compassionate, Wal Asr, Innal insana lafi khusr. Now, this is a statement that, the jawab al-qasam, or the answer of the oath, which is innal insana lafi khusr, humans are at a loss. Many people look at this statement and they say, why this statement that implies something, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, astaghfirullah, that it would be the case. But some people ask the question that it sounds negative. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us that we are at a loss? Why? Why not talking about success and advancement? And, Al-Hasan al-Basri, one of the great scholars, early scholars of Islam, said something beautiful. He said, يا ابن آدم أنت بضع أيام إذا انقضى يوم انقضى بضع منك. Meaning, he said, son of Adam, O daughter of Adam, he said that the human being in essence is made of a few days. Whenever a day passes, part of you passes, is gone. So if this is the case, then we are human beings, a manifestation, embodiment of time. We are time. Whenever a day passes, part of us is gone. If we did not use it properly, if we did not do in it that which will help us when we really get home, by home, I mean the day when we will get to Jannah, because this is not home. We just discovered that, economies suffered, militaries stopped, alhamdulillah, so many things, but everything came to a halt. So I hope that human beings learned their lessons, whether individuals or as groups, as communities, as governments, as countries, as that superpower that we believers, we know is God, our Creator. Did it for a purpose, but there are still some people who are still searching for a man-made solution for this pandemic, and rightly so. I'm not, again, see, my background in medicine and dentistry precludes the possibility that I would dismiss that by saying, no, we don't need a vaccine, we need something to deal with this pandemic, but already people are saying that this is a conspiracy and the vaccine is going to be so dangerous. Let us not really spread rumors. Rumors are bad, especially in these times. If you don't don't have the facts straight, don't talk about it. Just collect. I have been collecting, sources. There is, a doctor that everybody now is extremely, Rashid Buttar, who is talking about, and alhamdulillah, he is mentioning certain facts, but still I would not accept everything he said as 100% factual. People now are sitting and they are talking this, they are exchanging YouTube clips, and if you are not 100%, please don't contribute to spreading rumors, because rumors may hurt, or they do hurt, actually. So anyway, Al-Hasan al-Basri said that every day goes, you are losing. So let us make sure that, inshallah, we are going to collect as much so that we can get to Jannah safely, inshallah. And inshallah, we will get to Jannah by doing that which is right. And by right, I mean that we will connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah will bring the way out. There is a reason that this happened. NASA shared some images of our planet that show how crisp and clean planet Earth has become, because those toxic fumes that used to exude from the chimneys of factories and all the industries that spread all those toxins into the atmosphere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed that they would allow planet Earth time to breathe. So you never know the wisdom behind this. It's all in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us try to look at this very seriously, and every day we collect as much as we can. And now is the time of collection. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that oath by time, about the manifestation of time. So now it's quite understandable. When we say "Inna al-insana lafi khusr," it is not negative. We are losing day after day after day from our lives. And the signs are showing on our faces, they are showing on our abilities, they are showing, physical abilities, that is, so Inna al-insana lafi khusr. We are losing day after day. Illa, here, this illa, as Al-Imam al-Shafi'i said about illa, which means except, he said, illa is adatun najat, that it is the article of success, or being delivered out of the difficulty of being among the losers permanently, because we want to get, inshallah, safely to Jannah biiznillah. So there are 4 things that will make us safe, and these 4 things, illa alladhina amanu. Iman is extremely. How often have we heard from our khatib khutab speeches about Iman and faith and what is Iman? And I want to just submit in front of you that how can someone have genuine faith in Allah without knowing enough about Allah? We really need to know enough about Allah so that our iman in Him will just flow. It will be genuine. That is why we really need, before we will force our children to pray, and I said force because many parents do that, and salat is not by force. Salat, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, that you should enjoin salat on your children, but you have to be patient with them. It requires patience, and that is why everything has to flow from proper and enough knowledge of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us many attributes about Him. Scholars counted 99 of them. Imagine, if we know all of those attributes, how many know the English meaning of all 99 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does al-wadud mean? What does al-hakim mean? What does al-sabur mean? What does al-shakur mean? What does al-quddus mean? What does al-salam mean? All of these attributes, once we know them, our iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will just flow. And then when we have this iman, things will be different. Things will be really different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the beginning of Surah Al-Anfal, gave us a definition that I want to share with us, and I want you to really check with sincerity the answers, your answers. Ask yourself, do I meet this definition? Do I really cast my behavior on this definition? It says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ, verily believers are who? Who are they? الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. Whenever Allah is mentioned, their hearts tremble, not out of fright, but out of love, out of that sweet fear. إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا. Whenever the ayat of Allah are recited in front of them, their faith in Allah increases with every ayah, with the knowledge about every ayah. It just soars. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. They only submit their lives to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The pandemic came, we do what we are required to do. Then we say we are in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah wants, and if it is time for us to pass because of the cause of the COVID-19, then it is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تعددت الأسباب والموت واحد. That causes of death are many, but death is the same. If it is time for me to pass because of COVID-19, I cannot hide from it. So why should I really lose sleep and have panic attacks and get depressed? Why? Why? A believer is always عجبا لأمر المؤمن إن أمره كله خير إذا أصابه خير شكر فكان خيرا له وإن أصابه شر صبر فكان خيرا له. That the believer, whenever something good comes her or his way, thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is good. And if he or she is inflicted with difficulty or calamity, he or she is patient, and that is good. So this is how we should do it. And that is why, as I will continue, inshallah, at the end of this short surah, the importance of patience. So now talking about faith to continue. So I mentioned, number one, those whose hearts tremble whenever Allah is mentioned. Number two, those whenever the ayat of Allah are recited, their faith keeps going higher and higher and higher, and they only depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Number four, those who establish salat in their lives. It did not say الَّذِينَ يُؤَدُّونَ الصَّلَاةِ. It did not say those who perform salat. It says those who establish salat in their lives. And there's a big difference between to perform and to establish. When salat is established in our lives, our behavior, our speech, our everything will be a reflection of this salat. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar wa la dhikrullahi akbar. That salat is a shield between you and abomination and wickedness and bad behavior. This is what salat is all about. It's not only those movements that we go in not knowing what we are saying or doing. Or that's why even people who don't know Arabic, they should start to know at least the meaning of the Fatiha and a few short surahs, and keep adding to the wealth of surahs so that they will recite more and more and understand what they are saying. They should know why we say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim in ruku' and why Subhana Rabbi al-A'la in sujood, why we do sujood twice and ruku' once, why do we say Allahu Akbar. All of these things, this is munajat. This is very, very important for us. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Number four, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. That whatever we have endowed them with, whether it is monetary endowment, whether we gave them wealth, whether we gave them certain skills, whether we gave them whatever, and we, share it with others, whenever we share our wealth with others, whenever we don't withhold it, and whenever we don't say it's the me and the I, but we say it's the we and the others, we reach out to people around us. And, it was really a big celebration when the adhan now is being heard by people. But I've been telling, the different masajid, please make sure that it's the most melodious, comforting voice of the adhan. Not anybody should just go and give the adhan in a way that if it is inside our masjid, it is tolerated, but let it be so beautiful. And I heard that a couple of days ago at Al-Rashid, you started to share the adhan with your neighbors. So inshallah, I know that at Al-Rashid, I met many people with beautiful, melodious voices. MashaAllah, you are really fortunate to have them in your community. So these are the 5 things. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finished mentioning this, He said, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا. These are the people who are true believers. لَهُمْ دَرَجَاتٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. They are going to have higher and higher status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their degree of status will be limitless. As we hear from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Quran will be that source that with every letter, every ayah, we will be, irqa, keep going higher and higher and higher, and you stop at the last ayah you committed to memory and you lived in your life. لهم درجات عند ربهم ومغفرة ورزق كريم. They will be forgiven. They will be welcomed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will be given their book of record in their right hand, and they will raise it high above their head, and they will look at all the people who are witnessing their hisab, and they will say, ha umqra'u kitabiya. Anybody who would like to see, the graduation with honors degree, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my book. And this is all, number one, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we tried. Allah will give us that honor because we tried our very best. So this is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا in Surah Al-Asr وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. They did not only have faith, but they translated that faith into good deeds, into amal salih. As again, Al-Hasan al-Basri said that Iman is that which transpires in the heart and is translated into good deeds. You don't just say, I'm a good believer, and then you sit at home and you do nothing. No, you have to translate that by helping others, by being good to your neighbors, by, trying to find out if in your neighborhood there are some elderlies who could not go and shop. You say, I will do it for you. Just send me a message, or, leave a paper if they don't know how to make those messages and those notes, and you go and get them, the groceries and give it to them. And, if you are endowed with extra wealth, you may say, this is on me. We are all members of the same family. You can improvise so that people around us would love what we are doing. Alhamdulillah, on the 17th of May here in London, alhamdulillah, I would not claim that this is my idea, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, put it in my heart that I want to reach out to the community. So we are inviting, inshallah, all the faith group leaders and peoples in London, so that we will have an interfaith prayer service. And then other members of the team said, let us provide them with iftar. MashaAllah, it was a great idea. They said, we will have an army of volunteers who will drive to all the people that we will have around 100 people, inshallah, and we will give them 2 meals so that they will break their fast with us, inshallah. And this is how we share our Islamic tradition with them. Now, Amal al-Salih is of 2 kinds. There is the static Amal Salih, and there is the dynamic Amal Salih. The static is when you say, I did not lie, I did not hurt, I did not cheat, I did not. This is static, and this is good. But there is active good deed by reaching out and doing as I explained. So we have to do that. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Now, haqq is our deen. Allah is haqq. Islam is haqq. Death is haqq. This is the absolute truth. So we have to reach out to others. And there are 2 kinds. There is a fard ayn, and there is a fard kifaya. A fard ayn is what the individual does, and the fard kifaya is a communal thing, is something that the community will do. Now, the fard ayn that everyone has to do is da'wah at the individual level. Prophet Muhammad told us, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. If you heard something from me right now that moved you or left an impact on you, don't keep it to yourself. Don't keep it to yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran told us to go and share our knowledge with others. And Prophet Muhammad in his sunnah told us, those who keep it to themselves are the losers. So go and share, provided you relate it properly. Don't just, if you're not sure, go and propagate, as I mentioned earlier, a rumor. So this is fard ayn. Everybody will do it. This is watawasaw bil haqq. And now there's a fard kifaya, which means that there are people from the community who became, with time, knowledgeable, professional in the field of da'wah, and these are the people who reach out to the community at large. So, mashallah, between the individuals and between the communal efforts of the du'at, we will be able to do lots of goodness, and we will be able to stop Islamophobia, and bring it to a halt. The one who brought humanity to a halt is capable to allow us to bring Islamophobia to a halt. and we will wake up one day after we've done that which is right, and we will be able to again share more of our deen with others. And finally, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and those who really enjoy patience, and they don't say enough is enough, and they take to the streets, and they like in San Diego, in Madrid, in Paris, in Belgium, we had people go to the street in Holland, and they said, we don't want this physical distancing anymore. We want to go back to work. And, let us be patient. When the right time comes, specialists will tell us, our governments are trying their very best to provide us with daily reports, with all the, by the way, my advice that I gave earlier on, please don't just listen to those news, especially in the beginning, on a daily basis, and get irritated, because that is not good. Inshallah, can I confess something? I have not heard numbers in days. And alhamdulillah, life goes on. I'm not saying stay in the dark, but I'm saying let us stay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, Allah will put lots of comfort in us. So this is Surah Al-Asr, and Surah Al-Asr is so important, as you can see, because it is called the key to the Quran. You open the door with the key, and the door to the Quran is opened by Surah Al-Asr. And the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to, whenever they would meet and talk, and before they would leave, they would make a dua, and then they will recite Surah Al-Asr to each other, as if to remind each other, don't forget, this is what you have to use as the title for everything you will be doing. Now, one thing I want to mention, we have maybe about 5 minutes, and then I will conclude, inshallah, that if you notice, and it's hard not to notice, that when you recite the ayat of fasting in Surah Al-Baqarah, right in the middle, there is an ayah that does not talk about fasting. And this is the Quranic style, by the way. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to show the importance of something, He inserts an ayah in the middle of a subject matter that people think has nothing to do with this ayah in the middle. Why is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah is talking about matters and issues of divorce, right in the middle, it says, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about divorce. Right in the middle, it says, maintain the right time for your salat, and pray your salat regularly, especially the salat which, scholars had different interpretation. I understand it as salat al-wusta is the perfect salat, the best salat you can, because the word wasata means the best. Right in the middle, as we read in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf. And in Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. You are right in the middle, the best ummah. Now, wallahu a'lam, say Salat al-Asr, it says, Salat al-Fajr, it says Allahu a'lam, but make sure that you may. So anyway, right in the middle of those, because Salat is very important. Now, in the middle of the ayat that talk about fasting, all of a sudden, we come across an ayah that talks about supplicating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. If my servants ask you concerning me, tell them, I am close to them. I answer their prayers, their supplications. I answer it. whenever they turn to me with dua, I am listening, I am hearing. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Meaning, let them conform to my ways. If they want to come to me, imagine you want to go to a meeting. You don't start by putting ads on the internet and things that violate the spirit of the meeting you are going to. You have to go properly, and then, at the meeting, try to resolve the matters. And the same thing, you want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reach out to Him, start to precede that with actions that will qualify you, inshallah, for your dua to be answered. Don't go and cheat and collect from haram and hurt and this. Say, Ya Allah, forgive me. You just told a lie. You just did something that is not good. And now you are turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, help. Let us have some introduction to that dua. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي. If they are turning to me, at least they should have faith in me. They shouldn't be skeptical and say, well, we don't know this. No, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So that, inshallah, they will find the proper guidance through my answer of their dua. And I want to finish by this thought that was in the middle of the ayat of fasting. So now we are in the middle of the days of fasting. So if we cast the ayat on the days, then in the middle of the days of fasting, we are required to do lots of dua. So now is the time to start being heavy on dua. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially before Fajr and at Fajr time. Make dua through the Quran, make dua in any language if you don't know Arabic. But just turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and especially when you will start in the last 10 days of Ramadan to seek Laylat al-Qadr at night by, making your ibadah more intensive, by seeking it in the odd nights of the last 10 days of Ramadan. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would open the door of His rahmah and let you in during what is Laylat al-Qadr, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows it, but He throws in our consciousness that we have really attained what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, and He opened the door, then this night would be better than your entire life if you lived 83 years and 4 months. Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alf shahr. So let us make as much dua as possible. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this Ramadan will be a Ramadan to remember with goodness, remember by saying, Ya Allah, you brought us closer to you. You brought us back to where we are supposed to be, on the straight path, because we were driving on the shoulder. We almost fell in the ditch. We almost made an accident, but you brought us back by alerting us through this pandemic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deliver us into Barr al-Aman, into safety, all of us, inshallah, and resume coming to the masajid, resume getting together and celebrating as one community. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العظيم. جزاكم الله خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. If you have questions. our hearts all the time. Jazakumullah khair. And please forgive my dry, because it's almost iftar time in Ontario. And that's why now after talking for almost 50 minutes, my throat is dry. Can I say one thing? I'll ask the question, and because I was asked this questions many times, because it was spread as a rumor in the beginning of the pandemic that we shouldn't be fasting because doctors are saying that if you have a dry mouth, then your immunity, a dry throat, your immunity will drop and you will be more prone to contract this virus. Actually, the answer to this is that there's absolutely no evidence-based research or study or anything that shows that immunity drops with a dry throat. On the contrary, there are a couple of studies that showed that intermittent fasting, which is the kind of fasting that we have as Muslims, is good for our immune system. It's good for our health, and we are encouraged to do that. So alhamdulillah, a dry throat, you don't have to worry about it. So this is the question I asked and I answered. Please, go ahead. Okay, I'll repeat the question if it is okay. Okay. Yes. 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 So the question is, people felt stressed whenever they were disconnected from physically, that is, from the masjid, and after being so used to spending times at the masjid and activities of the masjid, now they are not allowed to go to the masjid, and it's been almost 2 months. So the community throughout the world, alhamdulillah, went through those virtual technologies and made activities for the community. What are other suggestions to keep the community engaged? I would say that there are different levels. There is the individual level, whereby every individual is different than another. So people may actually run away from something called a routine. Try to have a schedule as if you are going to work. So don't now say it's an extended lazy holiday, so I will stay up at night and then I will sleep throughout the day, and then just before Asr I'll wake up, and then if you do that, you are going against traffic. You know what I mean by traffic? This is your biological clock in your body. This is bad. You will really hurt yourself. So you should wake up. Alhamdulillah, you may actually after Fajr, because now Fajr is very early. So after we pray Fajr, after we have done Qiyam, we may sleep a little bit, but then wake up, and then, you make a schedule, have some time to sit with the family. If they did not wake up at the same time, read some Quran. There are programs on the internet that are very beneficial. There are podcasts. Try to check them out, but don't just sit until 3 o'clock and then, because, by sitting, your blood will become stagnant and it's not good for you. And then, try to call on some family members, on friends, talk to them, go and have a walk around the block, try to exercise, but not heavy exercise because you're fasting. And and then, again, prepare yourself for iftar by reading something. You may want to read some book about seerah. If you want to change from the Quran, then come back to the Quran. So try to, this is at the individual level. At the family level, the family may actually fill in the spaces of the individual schedule, and try to do something together. Decorate your house together with Ramadan themes. I've seen it, with many families putting some lights with lanterns, as it is, in certain Muslim countries. They have, try to do something ayat. Try to have contests among members of the family. Try to something like this. And besides, what the community is doing in those podcasts, this is really beautiful.
That was an excellent answer. By the way, I turned on my microphone to the stream so they can also hear me, so you don't have to repeat the question. I noticed in this short reminder you did, which was really beautiful, alhamdulillah, you went over a lot of, probably I could say, tafsir of Surah Asr. And we also know that in the month of Ramadan, many people like to read the Quran. So which is better for a person? To read the Quran completely, to memorize the Quran, or to read the tafsir? And perhaps maybe they could speak both English and Arabic, or just English alone.
You want me to answer in English and Arabic?
No, as a person, for example, if you only speak English and you read the entire Quran, maybe there is more benefit for you to read the translation, or is there not?
The reason I'm smiling is that before I came live with you, my niece, who lives in Edmonton, actually asked me this question because she's more comfortable. She was born here, raised here. She's more comfortable in English. She said, I'm much faster. I can understand it. And I am slow in reciting. She says, in previous years, I used to recite it, but I did not go past, Surah Al Imran because I'm very slow. So what can I do? Can I get the same barakah if I read it in English? No, I said, this is, this question is like saying, which is nicer? Is it gold? Is it platinum? Is it, any other, of those fine, precious metals? Everything, jewelry comes together, and it looks beautiful when you combine it. So there is benefit in reciting just to make a khatam, the entire Quran. There is barakah, and there is reward, inshallah, in memorizing. There is reward in studying tafsir. So all of this. So if you can do all three, alhamdulillah, this is beautiful.
Jazakallah khair. I'm just looking at the comments and seeing if there are more questions. There are not many more questions.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So, I just felt so good about this, even though I am, as I spoke, seeing images of my friends in Edmonton, and I have so many of them. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I started in the beginning, unite us and bring us back together in the near future, inshallah.
Inshallah. Do you have anything you would like to comment on?
No, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, everything.
Okay, so I would like to thank you from everyone here in the city of Edmonton, from Al Rashid Mosque, for this beautiful reminder. It's always a pleasure to have you come out and speak. Inshallah, next time we have a face-to-face, it's in real person, not virtually.
Jazakallah khair, Aqil. Jazakallah khair.
Perfect.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.